Okay. This is the Robla regular scheduled board meeting for November 12th, 2020. And I call this meeting to order for the open session. And please give us a second here. I'm sorry, I'm experiencing a little bit of lag here. Okay, if we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. We have a very special video for you at home so that it's more in congruence with everything.
Liberty and justice for all.
So for those of you at home, that was a very special video by one of our students at Robla Elementary School, right?
Here at
Main, at Main Avenue Elementary School. Okay. Moving right along, please forgive me, I'm really experiencing some lag here. Moving on to,
You want a paper copy?
no, it's kind of working, it's okay. To action, actually I should start off with the board specifics. Roll call. All board members are present and accounted for with the exception of Trustee Boyd. And report of action taken in closed session. There was no action taken in closed session, so there is nothing to report. And moving along to item 3C, the adoption of the agenda. There are no changes to it. So is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The agenda has been adopted. Moving along to item 4, communications. There are no written communications here for anyone, so we can skip that part. Moving along to the public comment section. And if you forgive me a second, I did not load up a YouTube channel here, so I cannot monitor that. My apologies. I'm used to having multiple computers here with me. My apologies. I will be with you in just a second here. Yeah, usually I find this right away. Actually, I found, okay. So, my apologies for those at home. Individuals wishing to address the board on any non-agenda items which are of interest to the public and within the board's jurisdiction may do so during this time. The board may not act upon items presented during public comment, but may briefly respond to statements made, ask a clarifying question, or refer speakers to district staff or other resources. The process for this: you may submit a comment in live chat on YouTube during our live stream of the board meeting, or you may submit a comment in the public comment section of the agenda in the Assembly Gamut if you have access to that. Okay. The board assistant will review and provide public comments on to the board and enter them into the minute meetings. So we'll give it a few minutes to see if there are any respondents to this. And Ruben, I'm experiencing some lag, so tell me if there's anyone there. Yeah, it's really slow for me. Anyone else have the YouTube channel up? Can you tell? Mine is lagged quite a bit. Yeah, it's just not loading. Nope. Switch over here. You don't see anything? 'Cause I can't bring it up at all. Okay. Well, that's great then. If there are no questions, we will go on to reports. And my computer, my Wi-Fi is just really not good right now. Okay, there we go. It appears that there are no questions or comments on YouTube. So we will move right along to our board, reports. And first is the Robla Education Foundation. Do we have a report for? Okay.
Oh, actually, I do have a report from, hold on, let me pull it up. I have a report, he sent it to me.
Okay.
Let's see here. Here we go. Okay, it says, well, I guess in this case, good afternoon or good evening. Please forgive my foundation report. This is from Mr. Revan. I'll try to watch the meeting after I'm done with our weekly fireworks committee meeting. Since our last report, all of the fireworks checks have been sent to the site administrators with the enclosed letter of distribution of funds. I would like to thank everyone that participated and volunteered their time to enable the foundation to have a successful fireworks booth. We are still unsure of what the future will bring, as there are members of the city council that would like to shut down the fireworks booths so people don't have the ability to fire off fireworks within the city limits. We do have a committee that is working with the fire marshal, and he has come up with a sound proposal that will allow the safe and sane fireworks booths continue to operate in support of nonprofit organizations. We are looking to giving the LE community better tools for law enforcement. Currently, LE can only take action against someone if they are actually observed to be lighting illegal fireworks. We are looking to change these regulations to a social host ordinance. If LE, I guess referred to law enforcement, observes illegal fireworks shooting up in your backyard, they don't need to observe the person doing it. They can serve the property owner with the citation. The property owner is responsible for what takes place on their property. This is being presented to the legislative branch of our city government on the 17th. I will keep you updated since this is our primary source of funding. Respectfully submitted, John E. Revan, Treasurer, Fireworks Coordinator, Robla Education Foundation.
Thank you, Trustee Duluth. And I see that Mr. Revan has thanked you in the comments on the YouTube channel. And before we go on, I'd love to say thank you to Mr. Revan for all that he has done for Robla. If you were here, we would like to thank him in person. But thank you very much. He has been such a strong contributor to the Robla district and our Robla family. So, again, thank you very much, Mr. Revan. Okay. Next is CSEA. Do we have a representative for CSEA?
We do not.
No CSA? Okay. Moving along to RTA. Do we have a representative?
We do not.
Next, Superintendent's report. Mr. Reyes.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I wanted to start tonight by thanking the board for coming out for our first live board meeting in quite some time. I think that it's a significant thing that the board is showing the support for their belief that we do have established procedures and protocols in place in the Robla School District to make sure that everyone is safe. And I appreciate you modeling that tonight. In terms of reopening, the board is well aware, at our last board meeting, the board did select a reopening date for the Robla School District of January 19th, 2021, as the day that we would begin our transition model. In preparation for that date, we are currently contacting families to determine their choice as to whether or not they'd like to send their child back for the transition model when that date arrives, or if they would like to keep their child on full-time distance learning. Also in preparation for reopening, we had a professional learning day on November 2nd, where we spent the day discussing our transition model, training staff, conducting tours at the school sites, so that everybody is gaining in their understanding of how the transition model will work. We have an MOU established with the with CSCA, for the transition model, and we continue to be in the process for developing that MOU with the Robla Teachers Association. Unfortunately, as I'm making this announcement this week, Sacramento County has announced that we have returned to the purple tier, which is the most restrictive tier in the state's tiered system. And we will see what impact that may have on our schools and our reopening plans, and we will continue to monitor that and to discuss that and stay interactive with health authorities as well as the County Office of Education and our employee groups. But nonetheless, our preparations continue for reopening so that when we are able to reopen, we do have everything in place that we need to have in place. While we are focused on distance learning and we are focused on getting ready for reopening, many other activities continue to happen in the Robla School District, of course, redesigned for the current setting. Parent-teacher conferences will be taking place in a couple of weeks, and teachers will be doing those through Zoom. And they are working on scheduling those and setting up those meetings with parents so that they can talk about their child's progress during the first trimester of the school year and present them with their child's report card. We will then mail the report cards home at the conclusion of conferences. Every month we have a materials pickup event. Our next event will take place tomorrow. And those are opportunities for parents to come to school and pick up some learning materials from their child's teacher so that they have everything they need at home for distance learning. And I do want to commend the schools for all the work they've been doing to try to continue to create a positive atmosphere at their school, even though the children are staying home. A couple of our schools had Halloween events. The schools continue to have school spirit days. They continue to recognize students for good attendance, and we continue our Harvest of the Month program. So all of these things which really enhance the learning at school, we have, I want to commend the staff for creating new ways of doing things so that students do feel good and do get excited about some of the fun things that happen during the school year as well. And that's my report.
Moving along to board member reports. We'll start with Trustee DeLuce.
Actually, the only real thing I have to report, I had a chance to participate in the first of the resiliency trainings, or resiliency trainings. Found it to be quite interesting, and looking forward to it as it goes forward, learning a little bit more about the process.
Thank you. Trustee Howard?
It's not a report, but it's not, the best of news, but I think I'll just go ahead and I'm sure for the election, that unfortunately I did not receive, did not win my seat back. So I know I just want to just briefly, state that Robla is always, in my heart, et cetera. So you'll continue to see me around and helping to improve what a wonderful job that we've done over so many years of just making our district strong, resilient, and empowering. So, I just want to say thank you for letting me be a part of that. That's all.
Yes, thank you. Trustee Cardona? Okay, and I will be very brief. I just want to thank everyone who supported me in the recent election, and I will do my best to carry forth the trust that you have given me. And that's it for board member reports. We will move along as we have quite a few presentations tonight. And that is the next session. We will start with the Summer School, Freedom School Report presentation with Daryl Roberts. And so if you'll give us a second, Daryl Roberts will start his presentation. For those of you at home, this is our first in-person board meeting, and so logistics are a little difficult, but we're managing. So we'll start up with the presentations momentarily.
Good. Thank you.
Michelle Chris, teacher here. I was about to say principal here at Main Avenue. The teacher here at Main Avenue. Is this mic on and is it being taped? Oh, okay, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, cool. Been asked this evening to kind of give you an update on, give you an overview of the Summer Freedom School project that we've run at Robla now for 5 years, and to kind of give you a couple thoughts about it. So this is our 2020 RFDC version, virtual Freedom School here at Robla Elementary School. Let's see. That one? Cool. Freedom School and the Children Defense Fund Freedom School Educational Philosophy. All children are capable of learning at high standards. The appreciation and knowledge of one's culture engenders self-worth and ability to live in community with others. Literacy is essential to personal empowerment and civic responsibility. Learning communities that offer a sense of safety, love, caring, and personal power needed for transformative education. Parents are crucial partners in children's learning and need support to become better parents. That, in essence, is the Freedom School model. We have done Freedom School on the campuses of Robla for the last 5 years on the campuses. For the first year ever, we did virtual. In March of this year, while we were in Tennessee, the pandemic took over. We were told that when we came back to the state of California, school would be closing on the following Wednesday, and we began the process of teaching our staff how to utilize Zoom and the social media, the platform that allowed us to connect with our kids by that. Virtual Freedom School services included using virtual SLI recruitment and training, virtual Harambe, virtual integrated reading curriculum, virtual weekly field trips, virtual weekly parent workshops, virtual National Day of Social Action, and COVID safety, health safety, education, and resource classes. Our Freedom School training for staff looks something like this: 5 days of training total, 40 hours total, including the time that the senior staff had in Tennessee. We did experimental activities, team building, classroom culture, adapting learning modalities, facilitation skills, afternoon activities, virtual field trips, RFTC history, and positive discipline, as well as Zoom training and facilitation. This was brand new for us, total new frontier, and for, quite honestly, I think that our staff stuck to it in a way that I didn't expect them, but I also will tell you they were challenged. Young people were being asked to connect in a way that they had not done before. Normally, we did person-to-person interaction on a regular basis. Now they were doing it Zoom-wise. Different, very different. But there were successes. We recruited and trained an ethnically diverse group of young adults with a passion for teaching. Our staff was primarily through partnerships we had with Sac State University, UC Davis, and Los Rios community colleges. Our SLIs knew the importance of education while modeling their own educational success. Freedom School also acts as a potential training ground for teachers. One of the things that we look at, responsibility of our service to Robla, is that we provide you a cadre or collection of teachers, potential future teachers, to select from over the years. Freedom School 2020 included, we held virtual via Zoom, we held virtually via Zoom. Our classrooms in the morning started about 8:45, usually had a reader. I think you might know the gentleman right there. Is that you, sir? That is you, okay. Look familiar. We went from June 29th to August 7th, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. We served less kids than we thought we would. Let's be honest. The challenge with Zoom was you had to ask parents to participate. And during the summer months, it really was tough for them to see why I should be doing that. One, people were hearing that, hey, this will be over in a while, we'll be back to school, everything will be fine. Didn't happen that way, and for many, I think in some ways, some parents kind of fell behind. Some kids fell behind. Freedom School Harambe, it was, we still had the exact same components of Freedom School as we always did. Harambe, the gathering together. In the morning, everybody came together on Zoom. When we had our 80-plus students, they all were there. We were having a great time. Again, the challenge was always trying to get those kids to stay and be connected, especially when you had to ask parents for the younger kids to participate. Too often, students are silenced and tore down. That's what the purpose of Harambe was, to bring kids together, to give them a different way of doing things, seeing things, and being encouraged to do things that were out of the comfort zone for them. Staff and scholars come together to celebrate themselves and each other. We had community leaders, principals, educators who were part of our reading cadre, read on a morning basis to our kids. Our staff itself took on the role of cheerleaders, the hyphen, really designed for them to try to connect and inspire the kids on a daily basis. Our academic component was overseen by Ms. Chris, and I'd like to give her a chance to talk.
Hey, good evening. So I have been involved with Freedom School for the whole duration that it's been here at Robla, 5 years, you said. And this part really excites me as well because it's the integrated reading curriculum, so this is the meat of it. Each week, there's a central theme. I can make a difference in myself, family, community, country, world, with hope and educate in action. There's a book discussion, there's some critical thinking, cooperative activities, group presentations, and this all still stayed virtually, which is amazing. The lessons correspond with weekly theme and the book of the day. So the curriculum, there was a daily theme, there was a focus skill, Common Core standards were still being done, performance objectives and materials. The lesson components, there was the opening activity, the main activity, again, the group activities, the social action activity, and then the closing. There were lessons lasted about 3 hours. And so overall, the summer, the children received about 70 to 80 hours of structured literacy instruction throughout the summer. And here, okay, we'll just keep going. So the writing assessment, we still did it. And the purpose and why we still did it, it expands critical thinking by using the written and oral forms of expression. It made the connection to the reading and writing that it was cohesive. They go together. And we really wanted to stress that to the students, that what you're reading, someone had to write. And part of that writing and reading, they go together. There was an initial assessment just to determine the proficiency, the confidence, how they were using the language, and then there were daily writing prompts given at each lesson. And then there was a post-assessment at the very end of the Freedom School, so just to see growth. And here goes an example of one. In the beginning, the prompt stayed the same, and it really focused on staying at home order and write a story, and so they gave a paragraph, and then at the very end, we got a little bit more writing with periods, capitals, subject and predicates. So we're really happy for that. Here's another example of the level ones, which are K through 3. We put a picture box so that they could draw, and some even gave a background, and then we just had them write with the same prompt, but it was scaffolded and modified for the little ones. And then, go back a little bit. And then that was, oh, sorry. And then this is an example of the level 2 and level 3 writing assessments as well. So they're writing, it's kind of faded out, but so we're proud of that. They did it over the summer as well. This is the virtual classroom. So again, the scholars, we kept with the same theme that we would do if we were in an actual classroom. They had a daily agenda that the scholars could see. The SLIs also had a word wall, so as they were learning words. And then they personalized the theme with anchor charts and pictures and things of that nature.
Afternoon activities for Freedom School still went in line with what we had been doing in the past, whether it be arts, whether it be drama, whether it be sports. We did all those things virtually. Couldn't do them in person, but we did them virtually. Let's see. The afternoon activities of a typical Robla student. Francisco did around his drawing. Over time, he became more and more expressive. I think we have to sell some of these pieces. Julietta, again, talented students here at Robla. I like to think that Julietta, when we did the Latin Heritage dinner, I like to think that some of her stuff probably was up being showcased. Don't know for sure, but I would almost bet you that. Also in Tiffany, Tiffany was connected to the Freedom School Social Action. Actually, this summer was even more lively than others around politics, around social action. Our students tried to make sure that family members registered to vote, encouraged them to vote, got them involved with activities, because you were also looking at a summer where a lot of things were happening in the streets. Our kids were paying attention to that. They were very engaged in what was going on. We gave them an opportunity in numerous ways to have a voice, and it was important for us to hear them so that they had a chance to speak to the things that were happening in their neighborhoods. On Fridays, as we've always done, we went on field trips, and boy, did we go field trips this year. Paris, Japan, Disneyland, Florida, Hawaii, San Diego Zoo, and many other places. It was not unusual to see on a Friday you jump in and there the kids are on the Swiss Alps. And knowing that they knew of places in Africa, places in other countries, in other parts of the United States was just really nice to see. And having them thinking about where else they'd like to go when this is over, what's next. So for us, our kids had a chance on the Fridays to still be connected and be exposed to places that they had not been to yet. Our parent engagement was a weekly activity we've always done. As always has been at Robla, we've had real good commitment from parents. And even if we had 80 kids, it wasn't unusual to have 20 to 25 parents on any particular parent meeting once a week. I don't have to exaggerate that. That's just something that has been a part of our Robla experience since we got here. We use the themes of I can make a difference in myself, my family, my community, my country, my world, with hope, education, and action as the themes for each of our parent engagement activities. One of the things that happened to Roberts during this summer is that we began taking on the role of a community provider in a different way, providing food, providing masks, providing essential support whenever it was called upon. And we played a lot of roles during this summer that we had never done before. So what am I? Oh, oh. Now stop, but oh, thank you. Part of what we did for Robla is during the 6 weeks, we dropped off groceries, hot dinners, donated by Mulvaney's B&L. We dropped off grocery boxes every weekend to make sure that families who might be in need didn't go long. Although it says 68 boxes on a weekend, many times we would just, during the week, if a staff member told me they thought a family needed help, we simply sent the box home. And that's just the way we did. And that was our connection. Also during the weeks, we had 2 times a week on Wednesdays and Fridays where we actually dropped off the materials to the students at home to make sure we again connected with them, had an opportunity to see them face to face, had social distance involved, leave the packages at the door, but again, an opportunity to interact with the family, providing materials for Freedom School, including Freedom School books, afternoon activities, journal books. Could you move close to the mic? I'm sorry. The RSC art materials and the like. PPE, face masks, and gloves went to families as well. Our community PPE giveaway and education went not only to Robla specifically to those students, but also to the broader community. So whether it be at Robertson Community Center, Grant High School, or even in the park here in Robla, we dropped off PPE, set up stations, or we passed out masks, we passed out gloves, we passed out other essentials. It was a very, very different summer for us, but we were thankful to be a part of the Robla family. We have rolled into the school year serving as a distance learning site for up to 30 kids. Right now we're at 20 kids from Robla. We do in partnership with Macedonia Church. 20 kids, actually 3 of them are picked up, 4 of them picked up in the morning, brought over to the church. Macedonia Church receive a full day where they're in a space where they get support academically, but as much as anything else, they get a chance to connect with our Wi-Fi, and that allows them to be connected to school. We like to think those kids are doing much better than they would have done because they were behind when we started. Most of them are caught up, or at that point we feel real comfortable where we are. As we move forward for the summer, we may have a different take on how Freedom School will look. We'll know more about that in the next couple months as we look at potential funding. Right now, we'll be back for the summer. We're serving 160 kids. Whether or not we'll do it as a Freedom School or not, we're not sure of, but we'll know that very soon. The city is actually looking at a way to support us, and if they do, the first place that we'll put our funding to is to Robla, because of Robla's commitment to Robert Family Development Center. So, any questions? That's who we are. Thank you for your continued partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Good night.
Mr. Roberts, I wanted to say that I was really glad to read about, having the children that needed the assistance to be able to go to the church. I thought, it's just, again, just another facet of, what you do and what we're able to do, together. So I just thought that was just a really good thing.
Well, credit to the superintendent as well, and that we were talking about the after school world, how we would do that, and he realized there was a need for students to receive the support. So when it came to him, it's kind of easy when you have a superintendent come to you and say, we need some help. Can you help us? Mm-hmm. That's a good partnership.
That's a good partnership.
Very strong partnership. Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you again, superintendent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thanks, Michelle.
Make sure that goes in your report. Okay. Next, we have the Taylor Street SPSA presentation by Cindy Lyon and Vanessa Gerard. And please give us a minute, as they are in another location right now.
But not far.
Not far, yes. Thank you.
Good evening.
Hello. Good evening.
President Barnes, members of the board, Superintendent Reyes, and Ms. Malespine. My name is Vanessa Gerard, and I am so excited to tell you that I am the new principal of Taylor Street. I'm going to get started with telling you about our school plan, but I really just wanted to share with you that I feel like this job was made for me. I have spent my whole career in Title I schools, and I look forward to the challenges they provide. And I'm going to share about some of those challenges right now with you, as well as some of the successes that we're hoping to see. Oh, that must be the wrong button.
You have to,
Is it on? Make sure it's on. The side has a.
and
Here comes Adam. On. Oh, I just had heard it buzz. Now it's on this time. I think it just went to sleep. Okay. So I think all good educators start from a place of how can we improve things, and I'm no exception there. So we'll operate on a continuous improvement cycle for Taylor.
Can you speak in the microphone?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. So we'll work with the continuous improvement cycle with Taylor. Right now, I'm in the planning phase. We all are. It's really about me getting to know Taylor and its individual context. And in doing that, I really am a learner. I'm finding out about Taylor, and that's a really great position to be in when you want to build relationships. The school plan doesn't have a lot of opportunity to talk about relationships, but I am convinced that that is the way to get work done. And so as I'm speaking with teachers and staff members and parents and community members, I am doing my very best to let them know that I'm a leader who is open for listening and collaboration so that we can all move forward together. And I'm really taking that opportunity to do that so that when we have the hard logistical and tactical work, we're all there together. So in my planning, I've also been looking at anecdotal data, observational data. I'm on classroom Zooms all the time. I've looked at some historical data about Taylor, and I've looked at student achievement data. And that's what I'd like to share with you a little bit right now. You know, orange used to be my favorite color. It actually still is my favorite color. But the fact that we are in the orange zone in so many of the dashboard points, I think points to issues that we need to address. So as an overview, we are in the orange zone for chronic absenteeism. Suspension rate is yellow because it declined slightly last year. We'll look a little bit more about that in a moment. As with all schools, we don't have an English learner progress report. Our English language arts is in orange and our math is in orange. So we have loads of room for improvement. I'm going to look now at each of these in a little bit more detail and talk about them. So when we really want to start with school climate, and I think this is at the crux of part of what we need to grow at Taylor. Our indicators for school climate, chronic absenteeism, and suspension are showing some pretty dismal data, quite frankly. We have a little more than 11% of our students who are missing 10% of their instructional days or more, and that really speaks to something, I think. But then when you move over and look at the significant groups, it says even more to us. So while school-wide we're at 11.2% for chronic absenteeism, our African-American population is almost double. Our Hispanic population is in keeping more closely with the school-wide, and our socioeconomically disadvantaged is as well. So I'd like to really take a look at that African-American absenteeism rate and find out what's going on.
Vanessa.
We need a root cause analysis.
Vanessa, microphone.
I'm a teacher, I can't. Sorry. We need a root cause. I thought you were pointing to me because you liked my point. That's the funny thing. That's the really funny thing. Okay. But I got it now. I'm gonna stay glued here. Okay. So I think we really need to find out what's going on there. That's more than the kinds of challenges that many of our families face getting kids to school on time. There's a greater issue here, and I'm really intent on trying to find more about it by reaching out to our parents and our community. And a very similar thing you'll see with the suspension rate. We've done loads and loads of work around behavior in Taylor before my arrival, and we continue it now. But our suspension rate is of concern. Now, yay, this is the only major area where we declined. Where we did decline, but where we went the direction we wanted to go. So that's really good news. It seems like we are making a dent in our behavior issues. But again, when we see large groups of students, like students with disabilities and African Americans, who are so disproportionately affected by some of these indicators, we really need to take a close look at that, and that's my plan. School climate sets the tone for our academic work. And one of the things that I plan to do at Taylor is refocus us on academics as we are addressing behavior or school climate, behavior, suspension, and chronic absenteeism. So our English language arts data shows that we have lots of room for improvement. For example, this year we are looking at specifically providing extra services to our third graders who are showing that they are far below in their foundational reading skills. We focused our intervention efforts there because we plan to address this in very specific ways. Let me just share, I'm going to go too far in that. I'm going to share math with you now too before I get to our ideas. So in mathematics, we're doing sort of better overall in the sense that our students, there's not such a great discrepancy in their achievement totals. But you'll still, I'm sure, agree with me that we have so much room to improve. This shows us that we are not meeting our students' needs. So I come to you with a theory of practice about our plan, and this is very important because, first of all, I think everybody needs to understand why you're operating the way you're operating, and second, because it includes a lot of what's really important at Taylor. Now, my English majorness really frowned on a sentence that's this long and this packed with words, but I felt like we needed to really get it across. So this is our theory of practice that we're operating under. When students are provided with rigorous, culturally sustaining instruction that meets their academic and emotional needs, when they are guided to participate actively in their own education, and when they and their families feel valued by the school staff and community, there's a greater likelihood that they will attend school regularly, engage fully in learning, and achieve the social and academic benchmarks that we set forth. That's hard to do, really hard to do, and we'll talk about this too. So that's the context in which I'm operating under. And so as we return to the improvement cycle, we have to look at, well, what are we going to do about this? And I wanted to share a little bit about my strategy for bringing new initiatives to the staff, because we're going to have a few initiatives to help us focus our work. And it's important, I think, that you know my leadership style. So I've created an instructional leadership team, and the initiatives that I hope to work on as a staff are first brought to the instructional leadership team. And I talk with them about it. I talk about why I've brought it forth, and I really try to get them to be critical friends so that they can ask me good questions, find out what I was thinking, and maybe poke holes in whatever I was thinking. And sometimes they have done that. Like they've said, oh, we've done this at Taylor. That didn't work because. So I think that's a very important piece when I get the indicators from a smaller group of leaders. We then talk about how this might work when presented with the whole staff. I take it to the whole staff, and then we get some feedback from the whole staff and take it back to leadership for more massaging. We are doing that right now. We're going through this process in developing expectations for student behavior or scholarly behavior, because we have expectations for every other kind of behaviors or contexts in Taylor. We have ways you need to behave in the classroom, ways you need to behave in the hallways, ways you need to behave in the cafeteria, all of which are very important, but none of them pointed to scholarly behaviors that we want to see. So our aim is to bring PBIS and academics together so that students get the social emotional learning and the positive behavior expectations and direction right along with the academics. So it's not like we're going to work on behavior first and get that straight, and then we're going to move to academics, because we tend to not move over quickly enough. So the first initiative I brought to my instructional leadership team was about combining PBIS and academics so that we could present to students our expectations of not just their actual behavior, but the kinds of things we want to see in scholars, like wanting to question, wanting to dig, setting goals for themselves, etc. So we just went through that process. We are in the middle of creating the expectations for scholars, and we are in the second iterative process, and it's going very well. But I wanted you to know that as we work on our initiatives at Taylor for bringing our outcome data to levels that we're really proud of, I'm doing it in a collaborative way and trying to be sure not to leave anyone behind. So as we do, this is the process that I just outlined. This is how we're doing things, and then I wanted to share a little bit about what we're actually doing as stated in the school plan. I decided to combine my need for English language arts and math together because it's really the same need. And I like the way our school plan template asks for a need before it asks for the goals, because that really helped me to focus and again come up with a very long and wordy sentence. But this is our need at Taylor. We must provide rigorous and relevant, on grade level, standards-based instruction. In other words, access to the core, meaningful access to the core, to all students, a majority of whom are currently performing far below grade level. And we need to do this within varying contexts of distance learning and hybrid models. That's hard. That's like rocket science. But that's what we need, because with my observational data, I'm beginning to be concerned that we have brought our grade level instruction to meet kids' needs where they are performing, and we may not be providing them that on grade level instruction that gives them that access. It's one of my observations so far. And I think a true kind of looking at the standards and finding out how do we address a grade level standard with a student, because we want to be real about this. We're not going to throw out a bunch of nice things that sound good. And kids who are far below grade level, how do we give grade level instruction to kids who aren't performing there? And how do we get them there? And it's easy to say intervention, but Taylor's had intervention for several years, and we are still producing the kind of data I just shared with you. So I am really excited about trying to pull this together, looking at standards and looking at our expectations for our students so that we can raise the level of instruction while still meeting their social emotional needs, not leaving that behind. And we do this by continuing our PLCs and our district assessments. We've got to know how are our students doing. So as I'm directing our intervention team to give more time to our third graders who have some like letter and sound issues, they don't have those kind of foundational skills, we're creating how are we going to know? We're meeting in 2 weeks. What are we going to do to know if this is working for these students? We fear that some of these students might actually need one-on-one, but we're trying them in small groups and checking the assessment data first. So then what we're going to increase is the professional development and collaboration that will bring this together. And that's where most of the money in my plan is. It's around professional development in the broad sense of teachers coming together and collaborating maybe over a new piece of information or some new data and doing something differently as a result. So that's my plan in English language arts and math. We will probably focus more on English language arts this first year. English learners is our goal 3 in our SIPSA plan, and English learners are a bright spot in Taylor's data, a real bright spot. We have 60% of our English learners making expected progress. And that's quite good. I've spoken with my ELD teacher and our classroom teachers to say, hey guys, we're doing some good things with our English learners. However, we still have quite a few long-term English learners and kids who are at risk for being long-term English learners. So we're going to beef up our ELD standards-based instruction. Again, the standards. The ELD standards are particularly supportive because they outline specific language needs that students have, and it makes it very concrete for teachers. So whether teachers are actually dealing with English learners or English-only students, I take them to the ELD standards for support with language instruction. Here, we're going to maximize the SOAR professional learning because this disciplinary communication is where it's at for English learners. And so we are looking at how can we use the SOAR framework and then bring in the ELD standards to beef up our language instruction and our opportunities for language practice, which are as essential as the instruction. Goal 4, parent involvement. This is an area where we have a lot of room to grow. We need to build trusting relationships with our parents. And from my anecdotal data, I don't think that we have that generally. I know that we have some good parent relationships at Taylor, but I think that there's some distrust with the community. And I want to really aim at building that. But what I really want to do is have parents who feel knowledgeable and comfortable in advocating and guiding their kids' education. Because I think what we often do is, well, we do right now, and I know we do, and I might even be up here in another year saying I did this again this year, but I promise it's going to be different. We over-rely on a small group of parents, right? We do that. It's a Title I thing. A small group of parents fulfill many roles, and we're doing that at Taylor now. But I'm really hoping to broaden, not just like what can you actively do at Taylor, are you going to be on school site council, but do you feel like you can come into the office and say, hey, the teacher just did a great thing and I want to let you know about it, principal. Or by the same token, hey, I feel really concerned about something that I've spoken with the teacher about it, and now can I come talk to you about it? I want parents to feel like they can do that and know that they can walk into the school and do that. And I'm hoping that when I ask parents to sign a SIPSA plan, they will fully understand it and have given some meaningful feedback. It has not happened this year. I'm going to be very straightforward. And in fact, my school site council has not yet approved this plan, although they have it. We tried to pull everybody together, and 2020 happened, I'll say that, and the date fell through. So we have a date next week. But everybody has reviewed all the initiatives, including the teachers. So I feel strong about bringing it in front of you now. School climate, and as I shared with you before, we're going to tackle school climate as a part of our initiative to turn around academics. I see that our school climate indicators show us that we are lacking student engagement. And I think we can engage students in many different ways, and cognitively, emotionally, the ones that are listed up there, but we don't often see the cultural piece, and I'm really going to hang my hat on that. With my staff, we're going to be delving more deeply into the resilience professional development, because I feel very strongly that when part of the emotional engagement is knowing that you are culturally validated and sustained where you go. And so if we can simultaneously work to have kids integrate these kinds of engagement so they see that they have some success academically, right? Because we can try to make them feel very fun and good with social emotional learning, but they're in school, and if they're not experiencing success, then they don't have that feeling that breeds more success and more motivation. And if they, then the social emotional piece is huge. Our PBAS and SEL programs are going strong, and we are weaving into those programs our resiliency work as well, so that we can really take a look, because it's clear from our data that race issues are playing out. And so I think we need to deal with it by upfront and look at our data and see what we can do. Once we do some of these actions, we will begin studying them to see if they are effective. We're going to monitor their implementation, because if implementation's been iffy and we get iffy results, we don't know why we got iffy results, right? We don't know if it really worked or not because our implementation wasn't good. We're going to gather outcome data, and then we'll study the results. And I have a couple of examples here of things, the way I'd like to monitor. You know, we really hope we see the results of our initiatives in the California state testing system. That's the gold standard, right? But we also know that those tests are resistant to a lot of initiatives. You can do really great work, and sometimes it doesn't show up there. So we're always going to look for it to show up there, but we have to have other indicators as well. And so we'll be looking at district, school, and even classroom measures that teachers have created in PLCs, or or school measures that we've created in staff meetings and in instructional leadership. I'm very big on observational data. If we said that we were going to give students more opportunities to talk in class as a way of furthering their academic language, are we really doing that? So checks, lists, and observational data will go a long way to letting us know if we're doing the work we said we were going to do. And then feedback loop. I as a new person, and I'm a new person to a small district where lots of people know each other, and I'm new to the position. You know, I've been to the position of a principal. I've been a school administrator for 15 years, but this is my first year as a principal. And I think people really need to know that I'm willing to listen to what's going on, and that maybe their input doesn't change everything, but it's been listened to and taken into account. And finally, I don't discount anecdotal data. I've learned a tremendous amount about our district and about Taylor just through stories and anecdotes. So we will be looking at all of that to make sure that we are monitoring to do what we said we were going to do, and then to see if it had the results that we hoped for. Then we're going to revise our plan based on what we see. And I will be back then to share with you an update. Now, Cindy Lyon has let me know that I am behind the cycle. All the other principals have been here and done this with you all. But I'll come back for an update, because that'll be our act. That'll be the next stage in our cycle. So if you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear them and share.
Presentation. First, Mr. Orr, let me officially welcome you. I never got the chance to welcome you. And so, yes, welcome to Taylor. And I really enjoyed the presentation. Hopefully, you'll probably get some comments from my colleagues. But my particular thoughts, I really enjoyed the presentation. I think that you are very excited about this, and I'm happy to see that. Because Taylor Street is, as your report pointed out, it's one of the places that needs improvement. It's got some issues, and so there's a lot of work to be done here. And so I'm really glad to see how excited and gung-ho you are, because you do have your work cut out for you. I will tell you personally, Taylor Street is quite near and dear to me. I shouldn't have favorites, so I will officially say every site is my favorite site. But my kids have gone through Taylor, so Taylor is very near and dear to me. And I want to see it succeed. And I think that we really do need to right this ship. And I'm really excited about that. So I really hope, I really wish for your success. The only thing that I want to say take issue with, but one thing that stuck out was that you talked about the parent interaction and distrust, and I don't think it's actually distrust, but there is definitely something there, because we don't get the parent interaction that we would like. I think it's probably a lot of other things that you have kind of mentioned in this. But I wouldn't say it's distrust because we worked really hard at establishing trust, and for me, distrust is something, there has to be a reason for distrust. Though I don't quite think it's that, but I think you're on the right track, that there is something there that needs to be addressed. And yeah, that's about all I have to say. I really am excited to see how excited you are, and I really wish you the best of luck on this.
Thank you very much, and thank you for that information. I'll check my assumption.
Other questions, comments, concerns?
Well, I want to say, I am very glad for your enthusiasm. You're coming into a group of people that are problem solvers, they're collaborators, and I think when one school does well, all ships rise, and I think we definitely have that mentality. That's what you're, entering into that kind of space with those kind of people. And I'm also glad that you're listening. When I was, on the panel, during the hiring, et cetera, that is one thing that I got from you. I remember you. and that you were willing to listen first, and then, there's brutal facts to face, and there's things to put in place to, give the children and the staff, what they need to move forward, which is what, they want, to build that, to fill in the gaps of, what needs to be there to build a really strong foundation. So I'm definitely looking forward, whether on board or off, because I'm always paying attention because I love my children. I love my children here at Robla, and so many of the staff that I've been involved with, the schools, it's very important to me. So I'm so looking forward to Taylor getting what it should have, to just grab a footing and do that. And the way you presented it with bringing, looking at the pieces and what it shows, what it doesn't show, and presenting a plan to get there, one that can be, like you said, tracked, followed, so that you can see, are we doing what we said we were going to do? If not, we revise, and we work again, and that's our mentality here as well. There's no shame in our game, if we make a plan, the plan doesn't work, you revise, and you make another plan till it gets there. So, welcome, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited for you and with you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the welcome.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your time.
And we know how difficult it was to kind of stay right there in that little area. That's a board meeting in COVID times. So.
I'll walk her over.
Okay. Next is our English learner update with Cindy Lyon, Director of State and Federal Programs. And please give us a minute to set this up.
Hey, Cindy.
Hi. So I will warn you ahead of time, you got to stay right there. People have been leaving it on. I'm sure Adam will let you know if there's a problem of hearing you. Okay. With YouTube, and if we can hear you, we'll let you know.
Okay, thank you. Well, good evening, everyone.
Hi.
Nice to see you all. For real. See you all. So today I'm going to give you a little update on our English Learner Services. Just a quick overview of my agenda. I'm going to give you a snapshot of who our English learners are, what it looks like in our district in terms of district overall and the school sites. Talk a little bit about the English Learner State Assessment and some changes that are happening there. Some trends in our numbers of English learners, and then a little bit about our instruction and our supports for our English learners regarding English language development and academic supports. So to start off with, this is a snapshot of what our primary languages are. We still sit around with about 19 different languages in the district, but by far the majority of those languages are Spanish speaking, about 30%, and then Hmong is our next largest, and then Russian. And with Russian, it's Russian-Ukrainian. So about 2/3 of that 9% is Russian and 1/3 Ukrainian speaking. At the different school sites, it really kind of varies. So Glenwood by far has our largest number of English learners, and that's also where we have our dual language program, which actually hasn't changed really the numbers of English learners by having that program there. It's just changed in terms of there's a slight raise in the number of Spanish-speaking English learners at Glenwood. And then at Bell, we've seen, this is probably the site we've seen the most change in numbers. Used to have a much larger Hmong population, or Hmong-speaking population, and that's dropped quite a bit. And then our Spanish-speaking population, you'll see in a minute, kind of has gone up and down. Main Avenue has our smallest amount of English learners, along with Robla. They kind of both sit kind of right about the same. Main Avenue is higher this year because we have the classes from Bell Avenue and a couple classes from Robla that are housed here during the construction. So over the years, you know, it's been interesting because we usually stayed pretty steady, around 40 to 45% English learners in the district. And as you can see, in about 2017, we saw a little dip, and we've kind of stuck with that dip. It went up a little bit in 2018, but it's staying lower, and our overall numbers are slightly lower. So again, we used to be more around 900 English learners in the district, and now we are actually just barely 700 at this time. So the numbers have changed. One of the things that we track now is what's called at-risk long-term English learners. And what that means is that we're looking at students that are not progressing. I'll talk about this a little bit more when I talk about the English language assessment, but they're not progressing in their language learning according to this assessment. We're looking for 1 year of progression each year. And so this is, for us, we look mostly at our 5th and 6th graders. Those are the at-risk, or 4th and 5th are at risk. It's at about 7 years, so if you came into kindergarten, into the district and were an English learner, we would expect by 6th grade that you would be reclassified. And what you can see here is that we actually have, these numbers have actually gone down quite a bit. So some sites it kind of goes up and down, but that's mostly due to we get a lot of newcomers at various grade levels. And we may get newcomers that come in, with they're coming to us new, but they've come from other districts. So they've bounced around, gone back to Mexico, come back, or we've gone other places. We've even had some that have gone back to the Soviet Union and then come back. So Soviet Union, excuse me, it's not the Soviet Union anymore, to the Soviet countries. And so these numbers kind of flip around a little bit, but overall, when I looked historically, these numbers have gone down for us. And then in terms of our reclassification rate, again, these are those students that we're trying to get reclassified, meaning they can pass the English language assessment and are no longer considered an English learner, but a lifelong English learner. One of the things about this data is you're going to see up here I have this like district on here, and the reason I put that on here is you notice that the county totals are so much higher, but we're an elementary district, and so a lot of times we're being compared to districts that have all the way through 8th or even high school. So what I tried to do is find another elementary district that was about similar numbers of English learners, similar number of students, and see how we compare to them. And that's what you see here. And so where you don't see any data in 1718 or 1920, that's because that district actually didn't have any students that they reclassified at all. So it's still rough because it's really only comparing us to one other district, but I wanted to get a better sense because this data always looked like we weren't doing very well, but we weren't looking at like data. So how do we know who our English learners are? Because of course you can have a language other than English and not be an English learner. So the numbers I'm sharing with you are our English learners. And we know that because they've taken what's called the English Language Proficiency Assessment, or the LPAC. This is an assessment that's required by California and federal law, and it begins at the first year of kindergarten. So actually transitional kindergarten, they're required to take the English language assessment. It's aligned to the 2012 standards, and it's comprised of two separate assessments. So we have initial assessment, and then we have a summative assessment. The initial assessment's primary purpose is to determine, it's like a screener, to determine if a child is an English learner. If they do not complete this, I don't say pass because it's not a pass or fail. If they are not able to complete this assessment to demonstrate enough English ability, then they become an English learner. If they complete this assessment and demonstrate strong English abilities, they're what's called IFEP, or initially fluent English proficient. And therefore, then they are not considered an English learner. Once you're considered an English learner, then you take the LPAC summative, which is given every year until you are redesignated or reclassified, which both mean the same thing. Again, you pass that assessment, you show the strong enough English ability, and then you are reclassified out. And that happens every year all the way through 12th grade, or until the point where you're reclassified. Something new that is coming into effect this year is we finally have what's called an alternative LPAC. So we have students who are dually identified, students who may be a student with a disability and an English learner. And in the past, they took the same assessment. So what the state has done is they've done something similar to what we see with the CASP. With the CASP, you can take what's called the CMA, or the California Modified Assessment. That's what the alternative LPAC is. It's a similar concept of a modified assessment so that students aren't being designated English learners when perhaps the reason that they are not passing the assessment has more to do with their disability or their challenge academically. Okay. So we are actually field testing, coming this January, the alternative LPAC. And then come next fall, we'll actually have a screener as well. So we'll have the initial alternative LPAC to screen, as well as the assessment that we would give each year to see how students are doing. So once we know that students are English learners, we are required to provide language development. And there are two components to language development. We have the designated ELD, in which English learners are separated out from other students by their level so that we can provide specific language instruction at the level that they need it. So the LPAC has 4 different proficiency levels, and generally what we try to do is we have the ones will sometimes also receive additional, besides the everyday 30 days or 30 minutes of language development. They'll also receive like what we call a second dose. And then you have your level 2, 3s, and 4s, and we try to segregate and put those students into specific groups for a period of time to work specifically on the needs they have for developing their English skills. Integrated ELD happens throughout the day, and what this is with teachers having a language objective that coincides with their subject objective. So for example, if I'm teaching standard or science, I have science standards I'm trying to address, but at the same time I'm going to create a language objective during that lesson to meet the needs of the majority of my English learners. So during integrated, it's not as specific. It's more of a whole class language objective, where during designated, it's very specific to the needs of each student. So in Robla, we have a number of different things that we do to support our English learners. We have a large population of English learners, so we want to make sure that we meet their needs. And what we have is we have Wonders curriculum, that's our English language arts and English language development curriculum. We have professional learning support teachers, and we have English learner support teachers. So the English learner support teachers are there to help classroom teachers to make those smaller groups, to work with the students in that designated time, as well as supporting them in terms of helping them with what activities and things that they can do throughout the school day when they're doing their regular integrated lessons. The EL support teachers make it possible for us to make smaller groups and more specific groups according to what the language proficiency is of the students. The professional learning support teachers are part of our professional learning committee, I guess you'd say. This is something that came into play in Robla when we had a grant, an English learner grant, and we've been able to keep these professionals on with us. And they support in a multitude of ways. With a lot of it has to do with the professional learning communities, helping classroom teachers to see different ways of instruction that are more appropriate to meeting the needs of English learners. So utilizing things like total physical response, opportunities for discussions, how to integrate a language lesson into another lesson, how to do some specific designated instruction throughout your day to meet the needs of each individual student, how that can be just kind of incorporated in throughout without it being a big lesson necessarily, but kind of knowing like, I know that this student needs me to help them work on ending sounds. And so then they would incorporate that in and they help them learn how to do that or strategies for doing that. And then our bilingual community outreach assistants support our students with their core curriculum in their primary language. So their role has nothing to do with language development. Their role has to do with helping them to understand their core subjects, their science, their math, their social studies, their language arts. So what does some of this look like during COVID? It's been very challenging, but we've come up with some great strategies and so added some new resources during this time. So the classroom teacher is the responsible party to ensure that English learners are receiving their designated and integrated ELD. And what we've done with our EL support teachers and our BCOAs is we tried to find ways that we can have them push in instead of requiring a lot more time on Zoom with the kids. What they're doing is they're pushing in 2 lessons or with teachers, and then they'll help with breakout rooms. So, I might be doing a lesson here for everyone, and then at the end of my lesson, an EL teacher might take a couple of the EL students into a breakout room, support them with that primary lesson, or at that time administer their designated ELD after their lesson. The BCOAs are doing a similar type thing. Well, they'll push into classrooms and then break kids out into small groups in breakout rooms. We originally tried to have the EL teachers have their own classes, but what we found is that with the students, we were losing students when they had to log on and off and on and off. So we found pushing into the general Zoom meeting that's their classroom was the best way and our most successful way of getting to the students. The EL teachers also in the afternoon have small groups where they do that second dose. So we have targeted students. That slide I showed you earlier with the at-risk or LTEL, those are the students that we're targeting during that designated time in the afternoon. We're trying to reach out to them because those are the students that are at risk of not making it to reclassification. And we know that once they get out of elementary school and into middle school or high school, it's much harder, and they also start to lose motivation. Another thing that we have added is Rosetta Stone. So Rosetta Stone, I'm sure you've probably heard of the program. Rosetta Stone also has started another program called Rosetta Stone English, which is a program for language development, and it was designed by some teachers. It's very similar to Rosetta Stone, except that it's for elementary, so it's more animated, young characters, and the lessons are aligned to the ELD standards. So this is the first year that this program is available, and we've purchased this program, and we have some targeted students that are utilizing this program as well. We just got that one up and running. The Rosetta Stone Foundations is actually the basic Rosetta Stone program that most people know about. We purchased this one for Glenwood School because we have the DLI program there. So not only do we have our English learners that are struggling, but we also have our DLI students that are struggling to learn Spanish. So this program, we have Spanish for the students learning Spanish in that class, as well as any student can access the Spanish part. And then the Spanish-speaking students can access it in English to support them in their English development. So that's why we have the two different programs. On a district level, we have the dual immersion program, which supports English learners as well as creating a more culturally and linguistically diverse population. The United States is one of those few countries that you do not learn a second language automatically when you go to school. It was the former Torlixon, the former, I lost my word. Thank you. It was one of his missions before he left. He wrote something called Global 2030, where the goal is to have 1/3 of the schools in California have dual language programs. Luckily, we were already in that direction, so we're a little bit ahead of our peers, but we do have a lot of other districts around the Sacramento area that are trying to get dual language programs going. Spanish is by far the most popular, but there's also Hmong programs, Mandarin Chinese programs. There's some desire in this, like for example in the San Juan district, for some other language programs. One of them is a Farsi program. This challenge with the dual language programs is finding the teachers, the instructors for the programs. So if we help to build a more diverse, biliterate, bilingual community, we're going to be able to meet this goal down the road. We also have those professional learning support teachers that I talked about. We've been able to keep them on. And then in our professional learning, we continue to work with CALI, California Educational Partners, and that collaborative has brought thought partners like Nancy Akhavan and Jeff Swears to us. Jeff Swears focuses on communication, disciplinary communication and discussion. And we've been working with Nancy Akhavan on foundational literacy skills. And again, trying to keep that focus of not only how do we help all of our students, but also this group of students, for example, in the upper grades that are coming to us without having the foundational literacy in English because they've entered school at a later time in their careers in California. And that also gives us the opportunity to collaborate with other districts. Kelly has also provided us with some grant funds that's helped to pay for some professional learning. For example, this summer we had Nancy Akhavan did a foundational literacy training. Our hope was it was a fully optional to be part of this. Our hope was to get about 35 to 40 teachers, and we had over 80 that participated. So that was very exciting. So basically we'll use those grant funds to help pay the teachers to attend, and they're providing us with the thought partners and the professionals, giving the professional learning at no cost to us. We've also had our professional learning cycle that Mr. Reyes has talked with you about all along with our thought partners, Bob Pritchard and Debbie Pita, as well as the resilience work to help understand our diverse population of students here and bringing the proper supports to them as they need them, as well as we have extended library hours for our students and our families when our libraries are open, that our parents can come in and check out books After school, we have the bilingual community outreach assistants available to them at that time as well. So if they need some homework help, they can come by the library and talk to one of the community outreach assistants. Other supports for our English learners are come from the state and federal level with our title funds. This is Title III as well as Title I. And of course, supplemental concentration dollars with the local control funding formula. So as a district, this has been, a strong source for us to have these extra professionals, our PLSTs, our EL support teachers, our bilingual community outreach assistants. The funding to have that extra support comes through these dollars here. And that's what I have for you tonight. Any questions?
Comments? Concerns? Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good to see you all and have a good evening.
You too.
Okay, next we have our Robla Strategic Arts Plan with Amanda Johnson and the Arts Coordinator. They'll give us a couple of minutes to set this up. So I'll tell you, let me give you just a real quick some information. You have to stand kind of right there and talk into the mic, or else our audience won't be able to hear you at home. So it's not for us. It's for us. You need to talk really loudly, but please talk into the mic so that they can hear you. No?
So, I'm going to turn this way so I can see. So, good evening, everyone. I'm Amanda Johnson, art teacher at Bell Avenue and also the district art lead. So, we're here tonight to talk about the strategic arts plan for the Robla School District. And I need to change this. So, this came from a student grant, a student support and academic achievement grant that was received to the County Office of Education. Excuse me. So this grant was for $1 million and provided support for the Office of Education to create an arts consortium. The arts consortium was established with the Office of the Mayor and the County Office of Education, school districts in the Sacramento region, the Sacramento Metropolitan Arts Commission, and friends thereof. So from this group, their goal was to identify ways to assist with the implementation of arts education and then provide ongoing support to the districts. The next step in this was creating the community of practice, and this was developed to facilitate and support local districts in the creation of the strategic arts plan. Whoops. So the community of practice was a group of arts educators and then also local arts organizations that were working together to develop strategies and to create arts education opportunities, and then helping kind of mentor and support the facilitation of creating the strategic arts plan. So there were many workshops and training seminars, professional development, and then mentoring and support. And the goals of this community of practice were to develop a TK through 12 arts and arts integration plans with the goal of supporting equity, creativity, high-yield instructional strategies shown to increase student achievement, and also to build resources to support the implementation of arts programs in schools. So there's some media links here with articles that were published in the Sacramento Bee and various other places that talk a little bit more about how this program started. Many of them connect Dave Gordon with the mayor, and I think Superintendent Reyes was also part of some of these meetings that are discussed in the links here. So from there, we have created a Robla School District Arts Committee that is composed of Superintendent Ruben Reyes, Principal Sarah Newhouse, myself, and then teachers Bob Krongeyer, Stephanie Bustamante, Sylvia Cook, Tammy Beach, and then the art teachers within our district. So Jolie Balestrino, Jan Gatherall, Christopher Scapatici, and Holly Harrigan. And these teachers came to support tonight and then weren't able to because of new restrictions, but they tried their best to be here. So we established this committee to support arts in the Robla School District in 2019. So it's an advisory group consisting of district staff who have an interest in advancing arts education programs in the school district. And this committee came from educators who really understand and value the importance of art education and who advocate proactively for the arts. So they have supported in a number of ways by helping develop the strategic arts plan, providing feedback and support, and on behalf of the arts, participating in committee meetings and integrating arts education into their classroom curriculums and communicating the importance of art and in the arts education. So some key facts about art education: that it is required by state law to be taught in grades 1 through 12, but for our sake of conversation here, important to know that it's in grades 1 through 6. I see it got cut off a little, and you can find the ed code there. And through SCOE's reporting, they have found that Sacramento area schools that provide art, music, dance, and theater are seeing an increase in student attendance. And art courses are required for all high school students planning to attend California University. So our role here in Robla is really to provide them a foundation level step so that they're able to continue on. At the bottom, there's a link for important things to know about art education. So our strategic arts plan has 5 focus areas with 3 phases of implementation. So I think you've received this separately. It's a bit of a lengthy plan, so we're just going to highlight the 5 focus areas. The implementation phases should be between 3 to 5 years. Now, because of a pandemic and everything being slowed down a little bit, we may need to adjust that. So currently we're in phase 1. Some of the things Robla School District was already doing to support the arts, and then some of the things we'll be building on and adding to. So within the strategic arts plan, there are goals for each of these focus areas, action items, responsible staff, and measurable outcomes, so we can see how have we met these goals and focus areas. So the first focus area is communication and community. So communicating the value of the arts, creating awareness of what we currently have, and experiences for students that we've made available, but also the need for continued growth in arts education and a deeper understanding of the benefits for students who participate in arts. So building access with our community to be interactive and accessible. So we actually had a community arts night scheduled for the following week that we had to close everything down. So we plan to reinstate that as soon as we can, but we made some steps to get to that place. And then also the next focus area being arts education. So developing content and curriculum that provides a comprehensive and sequential program for students and art for art's sake. The third area of focus is arts integration. So this is something that would occur outside of what the art teacher is doing. This would be implemented with classroom teachers. So the last focus area with art for art's sake is what the art teacher is doing. And currently we have visual arts teachers. And so building upon the program would be adding music, theater, and dance. And arts integration could incorporate any of these areas. So we started taking some steps again last spring, moving towards creating arts integration lessons for classroom teachers to use. And again, that will come back as soon as we can. So the next area of focus, number 4, is professional development and learning in the arts for arts educators. So trying to find areas that we can really focus in on best practices, strategic plans for learning for students that are related specifically to art. And then the last area is the infrastructure. What support do we need? The facilities, the funding to implement and grow arts education programs district-wide. So currently, as I mentioned, we only have a visual arts program, and to really be a comprehensive art program, we should have music, theater, and dance. But we have been able to provide these outside sources of art through Any Given Child. So this is something we've already been using and utilizing, and this is really where the money is being spent and where the proposed money would be spent to grow this program. So Any Given Child is from the Kennedy Center, and they have a Sacramento branch of it that we call Any Given Child. And this comes from the Office of Arts and Culture from Sacramento City, and the mayor is heavily involved with trying to grow this program. The mayor has quite a focus in his time to continue the arts and culture. And then currently the districts that participate in this are ourselves, Center, Elk Grove, Galt, River Delta, Sac City, and then our neighbor Twin Rivers. So the three pieces to their Any Given Child program is the teaching artist residencies, and the second piece is the arts exposure experiences. Typically that comes through an assembly, and then professional development and arts integration. So those things are still currently going on. So we will begin working on the contract for this year to keep these things going. So Any Given Child is continuing to train their residencies or their artists and residents to provide in a virtual format. And assemblies are probably something that are a little bit harder to do in a virtual format with large groups of students. And then professional development is moving along just as normal. There are several things already scheduled, and we have teachers already signed up in the Robla School District to participate. So this is where the money comes from. So currently in phase 1, which is where we are now, we have 3 artists and residents at each school site. We have implemented a plan that they will be in grades 1, 3, and 5, doing music, dance, and theater. And we try to strategically place them at each grade level. So first grade is working with music, third grade is working with dance, and fifth grade is working with theater. Again, started in the spring, moving on along in this plan, and then we'll have to resume that in a virtual format. So we're working on planning that now. But this is the phase 1 with the artists and residencies we've been doing for several years now. So when in this format, we're serving approximately 410 students, and the cost for the district is $6,750. And part of this cost is subsidized by the Any Given Child programs run through Sacramento City. Phase 2, which we would hope to move into in the next year or two, would be providing artists and residents for all grades 1, 3, and 5 at each site, since currently it's just one teacher in first, 1 third, and 1 fifth. So the next step would be making sure every student in first, third, and fifth are receiving music, dance, and theater. This would serve approximately 839 students, with the cost being $14,850, again with the continued support and subsidizing from Any Given Child. And then phase 3 would provide artists and residents for all students grade 1 through 6. Grades 1 and 2 would be music, grades 3 and 4 would be dance, and 5 and 6 would be focused on theater. And this serves, again, approximately 1,749 students, with 65 artists and residents at the cost of $29,250. So this is kind of the end goal, because we have a visual arts program in place, bringing in these outside agencies, local arts organizations to support a comprehensive program, which would include music, theater, and dance. So many of the artists and residents elect not to work with Kinder and TK, so that is why they haven't been put in this plan. So that varies each year of which artists choose to participate in the residency program. So it's not something that can't be done with kindergarten, it's just typically the artists themselves limit the age range from first grade through 6th. And then another piece to finalizing Robla School District, as fully supporting the arts is recommended to something else to look at is this Create California Arts Education Coalition. So their goal is about equity in arts and giving all students access, the same access. So fortunately in our district, we don't have a problem of only certain sites or schools or students having access to arts. Many districts do have this, so this is kind of like a badge of honor in art that we're able to say, yes, Robla School District provides the same arts opportunities for all of our students with a focus on equity and inclusion for everybody, with the importance being that art provides the skills our students need to be 21st century learners and ready for college and career. So at the bottom here, there's a link that they provide, kind of a model resolution for school districts or school boards and districts to work together to adopt. So this is a suggestion to go along with our strategic arts plan, because one of the things that's in the model resolution is that districts develop a strategic arts plan. So they kind of work hand in hand. And then lastly, here are some more links that you're able to look at that provide more data about arts education, the importance of it, and what this provides to our students. And that is the conclusion. So on behalf of the arts teachers and the arts committee, we would like to thank the district and superintendent and our school board for helping us hopefully continue to grow our arts program in the Robla School District. And within this presentation, all those blue links are something you're able to click on and follow to the other documents. So I hope that you will have a chance to review the strategic plan. If there's any questions about that, I can answer them now, or if you want to ask them later. It's a bit of a lengthy plan, and then hopefully the next steps would be to move to adopt our strategic arts plan.
I just have like one question. You said the artists didn't really prefer to work with the kinders. What did you do with them? What do you do with the
With kindergarten?
Uh-huh.
Well, because this is, the artists in residencies partner up with a classroom teacher, typically. So if there is an artist in residency that's willing to work with kindergarten, we would gladly include them, just typically they're not. So it's in the past been a teacher voluntary basis of whether or not that teacher chooses to have an artist in residence. So some kindergarten teachers have elected to, and some have not. And then some artists in residence don't want to opt out of working with kindergarten. I did have an artist in residence working with me with kindergarten, specifically in theater, and it went really, really well. But this is a person who had a lot of theater history working with a young population of students. So I think the more training that they have, the more comfortable they could be. But currently, many of them only offer their service in 1 through 6.
So I was asking, what do you do with what did the kinders do then when they don't opt with them? What kind of projects do they?
Well, kindergarten will still have visual arts. That won't change. So like I was saying, the classroom teachers would opt to have this or not. And so it comes in sessions of 6 40-minute visits from the artist in residence. So if a kindergarten teacher isn't able to do it because either the artist in residence won't work with kindergarten or they don't want that, kindergarten would just carry on with their normal daily schedule. So it won't be leaving kindergarten out in the sense of they have this dead time where there's nothing scheduled for them. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, I wanted to know what they did instead.
Yeah, they would just continue on. So the artists in residencies partner with classroom teachers to match up with their curriculum so that they're working in arts integration with the classroom teacher, and the artists in residence will focus on a unit in science and music or whatever works for that teacher. Mm-hmm. So it wouldn't impact kindergarten teachers of them losing any time, so to speak, with their students. They would just carry on with their normal curriculum as planned. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we have our facilities report, and this one says this by Ruben Reyes.
You sound so congested. You didn't sound like really cool.
talking to here, or?
Yes,
Oh, yes. So yes, talking to the microphone because that's how our YouTube viewers
Okay.
will hear you, but speak loudly so we can hear you.
Okay, I'll try not to blow out anybody's eardrums. This evening, I don't have a physical presentation, but I want to give you an update where we're on the facilities program as a whole. If you've been over to Robla Elementary, you'll see that we've been doing a lot of rebar work. We're going to do the large concrete pours next week and the following week. So on Friday of next week and then the early part before Thanksgiving, you'll actually start seeing them pour the concrete. And you'll actually just be able to see the footprint of the building as we move forward over there as well. Other things that we're looking at Robla right now, not necessarily part of the elementary school project, but as the admin project, is we're working on that transition from the elementary school site to the admin site. We have a couple items addressing that this evening as well, but we're looking at ways in which access to the site for the admin can be accommodated for district staff, but also looking at ways of making sure that we have two distinct campuses, making sure that we don't have students working in the administrative district office area and keeping our students on the site as a whole. The other thing that we're looking at as well is fencing. Looking at the site, trying to finish it off is making sure that we have proper fencing around the site and within the site. So we're looking at addressing some of the areas within the campus, especially around the play fields, to continue to separate off the district admin site from the rest of the area as well. One of the items on the agenda this evening, which we'll talk about, is the GMP contract for the Bell Avenue project. We are looking to commence construction, or I should say demolition, over at Bell Avenue probably in the next 30 to 45 days. The demolition will consist of the 6 portable classrooms that are adjacent to the existing parking structure or parking lot and circulation area. We'll be having meetings with the district as well as site staff to discuss logistics surrounding that, path of travel for teachers and students, making sure we have temporary fencing up to secure the site, and also maintaining use of that parking lot throughout construction wherever possible. So we are working diligently on that as well as we go forward. Over at Glenwood, we are in discussions with the city. There are some new regulations that kicked in over the last 6 months that require us to look at the treatment of on-site sewer and water runoff, making sure that anything that comes from our campus and goes into the city's sewer system or wastewater system is properly treated before being released into that system. So we are currently in discussions with the city's engineers about what those requirements will be and how they'll affect the overall planning of that site as well. So we're continuing to look at that as a potential issue or potential challenge over there as well. And then I think lastly, over on the facility side of things, we're looking at, as presented to you at the previous board meeting, possible solutions and assistance for the charter school. Just so continue to explore options, provide any resources we can as a means of background to the charter school team to explore options of what availability we have either on campuses or in terms of an interim site. So continue to coordinate with them as well. But overall, I think Robla continues to go smoothly up to this point. We find a new surprise every couple of weeks, whether it be a 40-year-old pipe or a 30-year-old septic tank or what have you. But I think we found all the surprises up to this point. We expect more when we continue demolition later on. And then over at Bell Avenue, we're probably about 5 weeks behind where we thought we would be when we presented schedules to you a year and a half ago. So I think we've maintained that schedule fairly well and continue to coordinate that overall. So happy to answer any questions you may have. There's several items on the action agenda, portion of the agenda, which I can speak to in detail at that time. But otherwise, more than happy to answer any questions you may have generally about the program.
Looks like we're good. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I can stand at the
Yes.
corner or something. All right.
Thank you. And for those of you at home, obviously that was not Superintendent Reyes, that was Emilio from CFW. Moving along to the consent agenda. Excuse me, that's where a single motion passed by the board will approve pretty much everything on the consent agenda and all the appropriate action. Is there anything that needs to be pulled out of the consent agenda? Doesn't look like it. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as is?
Second.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Abstain? Motion carries unanimously.
If I could just comment that on the personnel list, there is a person is listed for the new personnel assistant. And because at the time of the publication of the agenda, we did not have that person selected, but now that person has been identified as Elizabeth Contreras, current staff secretary in the district, so she would be moving up to that position. We're really pleased to have her be the person we're recommending to the board.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to action items, section 7, action items. 7A, schedule annual organizational meeting for December 16th, 2020. And this is because we need to reschedule our board meeting from December 10th to December 16th to comply with regulations. Do you want to discuss this or anything?
Well, this has happened to us before. We schedule our meetings and then we get a notification from the county that says it has to be within a pretty small window of time, and so we need to move it to be sure it's within that time.
Okay. Is there any other, actually, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any other discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, item 7B, guaranteed maximum price for the leaseback contract between Flint Builders, Inc. and the Robla School District to provide construction services for the facilities improvements at Bell Avenue Elementary School, identified in the Robla School District's facility assessment and implementation plan. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
It's been moved and second. Discussion?
Yeah, I think, you want to just say a few words about this process?
Certainly.
Maybe?
So, as the board may recall, we went through a similar process when we approved the guaranteed maximum price for the project at the Robla Elementary School site. What the general process we go through is that at the very beginning of the design process, we selected a builder. That was Flint Builders. These are the folks that actually build and construct the design. And throughout the design process, they participated in what we call a pre-construction process. That is, they look at feasibility, constructability, and cost as we go through the design process, look for value engineering, looking for ways in which the design can be improved structurally and therefore. And so they have been performing on that contract up to this point. Now that we've got DSA approved plans, now that we've gone out for bid, what we're doing tonight is actually approving the amount of dollars to be set aside for construction. The GMP currently, or as stated in the board pack, consists of about $15 million, $400,000, and $13. So $15.4 million. This represents two projects. As the board may recall, we actually have two distinct projects at the Bell Avenue site. We have the construction of a 2-story classroom building, admin, and library media center, along with the reconfiguration of the parking lot and circulation. The other project is the modernization and reconfiguration of the existing classroom buildings, as well as the construction of 3 brand new kindergarten classrooms and a kindergarten play area. So within this number, there's actually 2 projects that we've rolled into it. In order to have consistency in materials as well as the quality of work, we've assigned both projects to one builder. So within this, there's actually 2 subcomponents to the GMP that we have. If we go back and compare this to the original budget, I think that's the big question. How did we do? So the original budget called for about $13.4 million in overall construction costs back in 2018. So it's about an increase of about $2 million. There are a couple of factors that have contributed to this. One is the overall cost inflation. So as you may recall, we do not update the budgets we don't build in inflation into the actual construction numbers themselves. We carry that in the program reserve. So as you may recall, we have overall project budgets for each site. And then on the bottom line, we have a program reserve in which we actually carry additional dollars, A, to deal with inflation and cost, and secondarily, changes to program. So for instance, originally at the Bell Avenue project, we were not contemplating having to reconfigure the parking lot, for example. One of the other things that we've had to absorb as well is off-site improvements. These are improvements that are dictated by the city or the county for tying into their utilities, for improving some of the roads, and like things as well. So this is the price that was negotiated with the builders. We spent about 6 weeks going through that with them. Within that GMP, there's about $1 million in what we call contingency. And what that is essentially a project reserve within the GMP, which allows for any unforeseen conditions or any other types of additional work that needs to be performed to fit the building. There's about $1 million in additional dollars within that $15 million for those type of contingencies. The other thing of note is that there are still a couple line items which are out for bid. So for example, the elevator. So we know based on the elevator that we've purchased for the Robla project and previously the main project, we know what that number should be. But at this time, we don't have that official bid back. But that's an example where we know that there will be a decrease in the overall budget line. We go through this process of awarding a GMP in order to make sure that we are able to set the price for the project. And then upon approval, what we'll be able to do is give notification to the contractor to start doing all their logistical work to get ready to move forward with demolition.
My apologies, sorry, we were kind of, okay. Questions or comments?
I'm sorry.
No, okay, sorry, I was having a slight, okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. There was a question about the consent agenda. We did vote on that, right? My recollection is that we did vote on that.
What did you say?
There was a question about if we
agenda?
Yes,
voted
we
on
did.
it. Yes, okay,
Yes, we
okay.
did.
I was pretty sure we did, I was supposed to say, okay. Okay. Mhm. Okay, item 7C, agreement for consultant services with Youngdahl Consulting Group, Inc. to provide special inspections and material testing services for the facilities improvements at Bell Avenue Elementary School identified in the Robla School District's Facilities Assessment and Implementation Plan. Is there a motion to approve?
Second?
It's been moved and second. Would you like to comment?
Certainly. So this is an agreement with Youngdahl to provide what we call special testing. So this is the testing that's required for the engineering, for instance, making sure that the soils are of the right consistency for foundations and so forth. Also testing for any potential hazardous materials that may be dug up during excavation. So the contract is for the entirety of the duration of the construction program to provide any testing that is required, either from DSA inspections or from any other type of engineering inspections. The contract is for $46,828. This falls within the original line item for the project's budget. So this is not a cost increase. This is an allocation of funds that were set aside previously for this particular use. And so tonight we're asking you to approve that, and so that they can get to starting to work in conjunction with the construction activities anticipated at Bell Avenue.
Any questions? Okay, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item 7D, agreement for consultant services with DMN Inspection Services, Inc. to provide DSA inspection services for the facilities improvements at Bell Avenue Elementary School identified in the Robla School District's Facilities Assessment and Implementation Plan. I'm having problems with that word tonight. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Would you like to comment?
So similar to the previous item, this agreement is for the provision of the inspector of record. This is the individual that is responsible to ensure that the construction of the building coincides or adheres to the designs approved by DSA. This is also the person in the field that will be making sure that we'll be logging in the safety hours and other types of activities on the site and coordinating those efforts. This is our main liaison between us and DSA. during the process. That's the Division of State Architect. And this is the individual who will be required to certify the project as complete pursuant to the DSA plans at the end of construction. Once again, those services are for the duration of the project, and the contract amount for those services is $387,600 for the duration. And once again, I failed to clarify this, but this is for both segments of the project. So this is both for services for the two-story classroom building as well as the modernization and construction of the kindergarten classroom buildings.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries unanimously. Item 7, I lost my train of thought here, I'm sorry. E, yes. Item 7E. Shade structure ad for an outside learning place for Robla Elementary School. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Would you like to make any comments?
Certainly, and I'll also ask the superintendent to chime in where I get it wrong. This is a bit of an adopted project on CFW side, but as I mentioned in my facilities report, one of the things that we've been looking at is the space between the Robla Elementary School itself and the district administrative campus. We have approximately about 1,900 square feet of area between the two buildings, the new admin building and the existing, what was the kindergarten classroom, just north of the multipurpose room. It's the district's intent to utilize the space as an outdoor learning area. With that, what it would require, what would otherwise just be sod, what has been designed is a outdoor learning area with concrete surfacing, and then a shade structure to span that in order to provide an outdoor learning environment for students, for student use. So this, in conjunction with item F, are the two items for that particular project. E pertains specifically to the shade structure and is currently estimated at a cost of $78,584.46 to be paid out of Fund 25, which is the developer fees fund.
I'm excited about this. Any questions? Okay, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item 7F. Amendment to agreement for Clark Sullivan Construction to create an outside learning place for Robla Elementary School. Is there a motion to approve? It's been moved in second. I don't think we need a discussion on this. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're closing in on this board meeting. Item 8, future board member requests for future agenda items and reports. We'll start with Trustee DeLuce. All right, Trustee Howard.
No request.
Trustee Cardona.
No request?
And I have no requests. And with that, this meeting, well, before I adjourn, I do want to say thank you again for our staff who pulled this together, made this possible for us, because we are broadcasting this in a unique setting. So thank you to our invisible people, Adam Vivier. I didn't quite catch your name, I'm sorry.
Donna Radula.
Donna Lynn, say it again.
Radula.
Donna Lynn Radula. And of course, Shari.
And we should also thank SECC, Sacramento Educational Cable Consortium,
yes.
who is supporting us tonight as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.